By 2030, 42% of the planet's 1.3 billion youth will be in Africa. And while young people between 15 and 24 will make up a major portion of the continent's population, the leadership of African countries is markedly older. Dr. Richard Munang says it's time leaders stop confronting the youth and talk to them instead. He is the author of Making Africa Work Through the Power of Innovation Volunteerism. He joins me now from Kenya. Good evening, and thank you so much for your time tonight on The Pulse, Dr. Munang. Let's firstly just begin with this idea of the changing face of the continent. We are becoming a much younger continent, and yet often it is reflected in the leadership of the leadership structures that this age representation certainly doesn't seem to be making a dent at the highest level of governance. What does that do for the way in which countries are governed?
Thank you very much for having me. I will start off with an African proverb which goes that he who burns down his house knows why arches cost a fortune. What this means is that what we are seeing, especially across the continent, is as a result of socioeconomic stress, where people are actually seeing their livelihoods getting away, getting lost, because at the end of the day, we are in a continent where challenge after challenge after challenge is visible. Whether we're talking food insecurity, 257 million people going to bed hungry, whether we're talking over 12 million youth that graduate to the labor market and competing only with 3 million jobs. And then we're talking emergencies like COVID-19 that have actually caused millions to lose their jobs. So what we are seeing is socioeconomic stress, where people are actually have reached a point where the anger and the stress is coming out. But more importantly, what needs to be considered here is that government alone is not a repository of solutions. Regardless of age, each and everyone need to be part of the solution, leveraging on skills and talents and passions to be able to start looking at the conversation on how we can turn challenges to opportunities. And this is actually what needs to happen, because government and people need to devise solutions together. It's not only government alone, and it's not only youth alone. Everyone needs to be part of the solution process.
Absolutely, but often when you speak to young people, it's not that they don't have ideas, it's not even that they're not sharing their ideas, but they're systemically throttled by the governments that they have, and which is why you see a protest like you would in Nigeria, where young people seeing the way in which police are acting and imposing on the human rights of people, take a stand peacefully, and yet they are met with the harshest arm of the law.
The reality is that we must understand, regardless of age, that most of the population of the African continent today is youthful, and over 60% of the population of the continent. They were born, most of them, after the 1990s. And so they've grown up in a different era, in an era where they access information from the internet, in an area where they're tech savvy, in an area where they have their own ideas. And as a result of that, they need to be understood from the perspective of bringing different solutions and using different approaches to bring those solutions to the table. So the most important thing to do at the moment is to have a conversation with the young people, not a confrontation, is to motivate them, not to molest them. And the best way to do that is to look at it from a personal responsibility solution process, whereby we understand that because the youth are tech savvy, for example, to what extent can we tap into that tech savviness and put in place enabling policies and incentives so that they can develop solutions to address the challenges in the continent. If we look at the cyberspace or the digital space, most of the time we hear of cybercrime policies that have been put by states. That's fine. But how about also leveraging the digital space to put solutions that can actually incentivize youth, or put incentives to incentivize youth to develop digital solutions to connect farmers to market, to connect solutions on farm produce to market. And the other aspect is we need to start looking at inculcating a different attitude in the young people. they're energetic, they're tech savvy, they have that entrepreneurial spirit. To what extent can we start injecting aspects of selflessness even in the school curricula to ensure that the values that can be integrated to what they already have can make them to see themselves as solution providers and also as being the solutions that we need today. And the last one is that we're not starting from scratch. We need to leverage on what is already there. The role of government is to create an enabling environment and should know that the youth constitute the biggest non-state actors in the entire African continent. And without them, the solution process might actually never really materialize.
Dr. Richard Munang, Dr. Richard Munang, let's leave it there for this evening. He's the author of Making Africa Work Through the Power of Innovative Volunteerism.